Welcome back to Fortune and Friendship, the podcast where we believe that your most valuable asset is your network. I'm your host, Corey McNabb. Each week, we'll connect with inspiring guests who are making waves in their fields. Together, we'll explore how through collaboration and friendship we can end up making incredible opportunities and success together. Each episode, you'll hear from entrepreneurs, creative investors, and thought leaders who will share what they're currently working on and how we can join forces to create something amazing. Repeating myself, boom. Anyways, whether you're looking to expand your own network or discover new ways to collaborate, you'll find actionable insights and fresh ideas right here. So let's settle in, and remember, it's not who you know that counts, but who knows you. That being said, let's bring up our special guest, Mr. Jon Chan. Jon, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am doing fantastic. So Jon, this is kind of really the first time we're getting to chat. And guys, if you're returning and watching, you'll see sometimes I'm talking to people that I already know and I, just kind of learning more about them. But in this case, I'm right here with you, learning as much as I can about Mr. Jon and how he is crushing it. I hope, I would assume. We're going to find out. That being said, Jon, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I used to live in Northern Virginia. I live in Orlando now. Started my career in accounting and moved over into consulting, doing business intelligence work, which is just basically automating accounting, spreadsheets and all that. COVID hit and I got a little nervous. I worked for a smaller company, wasn't sure how that was going to go. And really got me thinking that if anything were to happen to either myself or my wife, who was pregnant at the time with their second child, wasn't sure how that was going to play out. Did not want either one of us to have to struggle financially. So got into real estate. Did that using the Burr method. Made a lot of mistakes, but also had some wins in there. And just really have gone through this journey of self-discovery and learning how to build a business.
Gotcha. Okay. So you just up and decided, okay, real estate's the way I want to go. What was it about the Burr method that attracted you to that strategy?
It was the thought of being able to take the money that I had and then put it into a deal, do a cash out refi, pull all my money back out, still cash flow as a rental, and then do it again. Because to do it, I wouldn't recommend doing this, but during COVID, there was that CARES Act. And I had just heard in a YouTube video that you could pull money out penalty free, still pay the taxes. So I pulled as much money out of my retirement account, my wife's retirement account, and really went all in. No regard for the taxes that I'd have to pay over the next 3 years. So that was a little bit stressful, but yeah, just went as hard as I could.
Man, okay. So you started Burr method, made some mistakes, had some wins. Was that the business that you built, or are you working on something else now? And if so, how did that transition happen?
Yeah, good question. So I had gone to about 10 doors that way. Realized that I was way over my head with, newborn or infant, and then having a W-2. My wife had a W-2, and then getting to 10 doors, not having all the best records, not having a good team in place in terms of on the back office. So I took a break and really just caught my breath. Try to get everything organized. I'm still working on that right now. But yeah, took a break and then looked for different strategies because the Burr method was no longer working for me, especially with rates going up and me having ADHD, just going into 3 different markets and trying to do 4 projects at the same time wasn't sustainable, especially with the records that I was not keeping. So I took a step back, actually ended up joining Sub 2 not too long after that, and focused on becoming just a better entrepreneur or better person in general. So I partnered with another student. I'd always heard Squad Up. Unfortunately, that didn't work out because I still didn't know who I was. I went in as an integrator, realizing that I'm a visionary. And so we did some land flips, made some money, but I had to exit just because the role that I put myself in was not working. Took a step back, really relied heavily on my high-paying W-2, came in as a capital partner, picked up a bunch more houses, and then decided to leave the W-2. And then realized that I needed active income. And I had already, about a year ago, my mom wanted to retire. And so decided to take her money and become a PML with it, learn that process. Luckily, everything worked out well. And then now, after leaving my W-2, realizing the 30 doors isn't really going to cut it. So now focused on being a private money lender and doing that for myself as well as friends and family.
Okay. So you started out in the kind of buy and hold, a little bit of flip, mostly buy and hold space.
Mm-hmm.
And then just, I guess, got overwhelming with all the stuff that was going on, of course, with the times. And then you transitioned into lending money on other people's deals, right?
Yeah. And really that was because my mom had this specific number she wanted to hit every single month in terms of income. So she had a house, primary residence, that had a killer rate. So turned that into a wraparound mortgage. But then with all of her cash that she had, I moved it all into a self-directed retirement account and then just started lending out of that.
Okay. So is that the self-directed IRAs?
Yeah. So for her, it's a solo 401k, which is just the 401k version of the self-directed IRA.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about what is a deal for you to lend on? What constitutes a deal? What things do you consider? And then I guess metrics or specifics about a deal are you like, oh, that's it, I want to lend on that one?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So when I first started off, I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew is that I needed to have more than enough equity to cover my mom's money plus return. And I always had in the back of my mind where if I had to cover any losses, I would just sell one of my properties and pay her back, right? But the biggest thing in the beginning for me was, does the deal make sense in terms of, is there enough collateral to cover all the loans, not just my mom's loan, but also if there's a first position lender, is there enough money to cover that? Now it's become less about the deal and more about the borrower. So, I mean, I'm often asked what markets I lend in, and I try to avoid California, New York, all those states. Mm-hmm. But it really comes down to the borrower. Do they have the systems in place to scale? Do they need the money, or do they want the money to scale? Are they broke, right? Have they passed background checks, credit checks? What is their track record? How many deals have they done in the last 12 months? Have they made money on all those deals? And then once we've gone through all that, we go and say, all right, well, now that we evaluate the borrower, let's see the live deals. We don't fund any of them. We just want to see them, make sure that the numbers make sense. The comps that they're providing are not like the comps that wholesalers typically give you, where it's like a 3.2, but then they're going to give you a 5.4 and say it's the same thing, right? And then looking at the borrower's package to make sure that it has all the information that we asked for in a nice and neat fashion. And then once everything passes, then it becomes, all right, how much money are they going to make? Is it at least 12% of ARV? And then we just kind of go from there. So it really is more about the borrower and less about the deal, but we do want to make sure the deal makes sense.
So this is interesting because I tried to get into lending at one point. I joined the Gator lending program and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But what I think is really interesting is you jumped in not necessarily with your own money.
Mm-hmm.
And not really with the mindset of, obviously you're out to make money, right? This isn't you want to make money, but you didn't have the sole mindset of, okay, I'm going to lend my money so it works for me and makes me money. Right?
Yeah.
You're saying you helped your mom lend that money and your focus was on making sure she got her money back and paid and stuff like that. I don't know. I guess it kind of goes. It's making me think of something Pace had said probably a long time ago. It was one of his videos I saw recently about the drive to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we say, "Oh, we're doing this for our family," all that stuff, that wasn't enough, right? His family wasn't enough. It wasn't until he started hiring people, and now it's his employees and their families that depend on him to succeed. So I think it's really interesting. I don't know if you consciously did it, but it seems like you put more pressure on yourself by trying to make sure that your mom got her money back and got her interests and stuff like that. And maybe that's what helped push you to succeed a little more. Just
Yeah, very, very possible. I mean, retirement is always something I have worried about for my mom, not so much my dad. Well, I mean, I still kind of worry about him too, but because I view retirement as you have this large pool of money that you've saved up, and it's based on securities in the stock market, which I have a strong bias against, just because of what happened during COVID and just ridiculous amounts of manipulation. Anyways, so I did not trust that my mom's money would be safe in the stock market, and so I kind of view it as, well, she has this pool of money and it's going to go up and down based on the market. What kind of stress is that to go and dig into your savings every single year? Now you're almost hoping that you don't outlive your money, but why would you ever want to? Why would money ever be the reason why you don't want to keep going, right? So
absolutely.
to me, it was like, what can I do to not only help her grow her money, help her get her income so that the principal that she has saved up never gets touched, but also not putting too much of a strain on me by having her go out and buy property and then having to deal with tenants and all that. So lending just made sense for her.
Yeah. No, I definitely kind of agree with you. I think COVID really kind of woke a lot of people up,
Yeah.
let them know how fragile things they thought were secure were.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, and then there's a whole nother facet to that, and we don't have to get into.
But yeah, I mean, we've really had it too easy. We've had no wars, right? Nothing. Really have had no struggles. If you think about the people, the generation before us, they had World War II, World War One, World War II, Korean War, all this stuff. But for us, we just, I don't know, we've just been focused on complaining about a lot of things.
Well, there's that side of it too. A lot of people have spent most their lives just focused on themselves, which personally I think that's how it should be, right? We
Yeah.
should be able to focus on our businesses, our families, and all that stuff, and not
Yeah.
have to worry about what's going on a national level. Um,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think because we've been focused on our families and businesses, a lot of people have just let a lot of things on the national level slide. And now that's coming back to bite us. So there has to be a little bit of course correction, but hopefully we'll see. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, for sure. But there's always a lot going on, and,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it always has been. It's just how free is this information now? Now it's
Right.
just so easy to get
Oh,
it,
yeah.
But 100 years ago, something happened across the world. It took a long time to get that information.
Yeah. Well, there's pros and cons to that as well. Information is so fast and easily accessible, but now you really have to dig deeper to make sure the information is credible.
Yeah,
Right?
that
So
is true. Yeah,
now, of course, back then it was you were limited to certain outlets of information and stuff like that, and over time you would have to deem them credible, but I don't know. It's rough. Anyways, we got a little off topic.
yeah.
So tell us more about your lending. Well, actually, I wanted to ask because you had mentioned, um, dang, I don't remember exactly what you said. When when did you make that transition from buying and holding and all that stuff to actually starting to lend? How long have you been doing the lending?
So if we include my mom's lens, it's been 10 months. But then for myself, it really happened. I think we made the conscious decision to change over and to do lending either July or August. And yeah, so I have an operator who works with me. She's been amazing. Her name's Caitlin Beals. She's from top tier TC, and she's really helped me figure out that the way that we were going is fine, like for long term, but for short term, it's not going to cut it. So, I mean, I had honestly been scared to go back into lending because of all the horror stories I've heard. So we really spent a lot of time and dug into how to do it properly, safely, as we possibly can, to minimize the risk as much as we can. And so that really started in August. But I think the seeds were planted back in March when I had a friend of mine at a friend's wedding turn to me and say, I see what you're doing in real estate. I think it's great, but I don't want to spend that time and effort to learn to do what you're doing. So how can I get involved? And she said, lend me money and I'll collateralize you against a property, and then we'll just go from there. And then I was thinking about, because he's a close friend of mine, known each other since, essentially middle school, maybe high school. And so I worry about my friends' kids too, because I see the affordability just things are becoming a lot less affordable. I had a nephew and his fiance look for a house, and they struggled just because things are just becoming so expensive. And so I see that for my friends and my friends' kids, and I don't want that for them. So then that's how it kind of turned into, well, I can lend for myself, but I can also bring my friends and family in with these as well to help them build their wealth without having them do anything different than what they're already doing. So it's taking the principles of my friends saying, I don't want to do anything, but I want to get involved, and giving them the ability to make much higher returns than the stock market.
Gotcha. That was going to be my next question. If now that you're lending, if you're using your own money, or if you're essentially you're not only lending but also raising capital in a sense.
Yeah. And I was actually supposed to speak at one of the local meetups here for Sub 2 about lending. Just for whatever reason, I canceled. But I was thinking a lot about what I was going to say about capital raising, and I feel like I've been raising capital for my entire life. And I just didn't know it. And a lot of it has to be with building relationships and just trying to do right by people. Mm-hmm. And I think that really has helped us do really well over the past, since August.
Gotcha. Okay. You said local meetup there. Where are you located?
So I live in Orlando, but I used to live here in Northern Virginia. And so I've been here for about a month, which is a long time, ready to go back home. But just seeing friends and family back here has been a lot of fun. So right now I'm in Northern Virginia.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. I don't know a lot about Northern Virginia. Is that near the Shenandoah Valley?
Yeah. So Shenandoah Valley is about an hour, 20 minutes west of where I'm at right now.
Okay.
But best time to go. Well, the leaves are changing colors and everything.
Yeah, we let's see. I think it's may have been earlier this year or late last year. I don't remember. We ended up having to go up to Pennsylvania for a funeral, and drove. That was the way we took, was through Shenandoah Valley.
Oh, really?
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
To the point I was like, because I'm northeast of Atlanta, and I was like, okay, well, we can move up here, I guess. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it's growing.
Sweet, man. Okay, so let's see what. Okay, so you mentioned already that for you, it's not so much the deal that matters. I mean, obviously the deal's got to play into it at some point, right? It has to make money.
Yeah.
but for the most part, it's the borrower that is the big question mark to determine a deal. So does that mean like you prefer to invest in borrowers that obviously have experience? That's nice and stuff, but are you, I guess the question I'm really asking is, are you adverse to newer investors who are trying to get started using like other people's money?
Yeah, unless you have a partner who's got experience, and then I evaluate the partner, because I mean, here's the thing: like, if you're going based on just the deal, anything can happen. Everything goes longer. Everything's it becomes more expensive. Everything goes over budget, right? And then you could do like the perfect renovation and still have the house just sit there, and just nothing you can do about it, right? So to me, it's like the borrower is the most important, because even if this fix and flip or this project goes south, they're going to find a way to pay you back, right? Just like for my mom, if anything were to have gone sour on any of those projects, I would much rather take that hit, because I'm the one responsible, versus have her lose money and then have to stress out about that, because I'm willing to put in the work to fix it. My mom, she's in a different phase in her life. So yeah, to me, the borrower is the most important aspect of any deal that you lend on.
Okay. And so for those watching who, in case they don't understand the question I'm about to ask, well, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this properly. Basically, I'm going to ask if you do any private money partnering. But before we get to that, for those watching, could you briefly explain the difference between private money lender and private money partner?
Sure. So when you're a private money lender, you have no ownership of the property itself. You have a set rate of set return, and it's all in the promissory note. When you're a private money partner, you actually own a piece of that property, and then the terms are negotiable, whether you get a flat rate of return or you just get a portion of the profits. So it's as a lender, you don't own the property, but you do have documents that give you rights against that property if the borrower defaults. But then as a partner, you're part owner of that property.
Right. So worst case scenario, I guess for both of them, is that the property doesn't make money. But at least if you're the lender, property doesn't make money, you don't get paid. You could foreclose on it if that's what the collateral is.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a partner, it doesn't make money. You just don't make money. I mean, you're gaining equity, ideally, right, but you're not going to make money. Okay.
Yeah.
So then back to the initial question: do you only do private money lending, or do you step into private money partnering as well?
As of right now, I only do lending. I have done some private money partnering. Now, the problem is that I have ownership in all these properties, but I have nothing. The power of owning property is to, offset active income in real estate, or offset some type of income. I have no income to offset right now other than rental income. So that's why I'm just doing straight up lending until I get to a point where my accountant tells me you should go out and buy property.
Interesting. I have not heard it put that way before. So the point of owning property is basically to offset the taxes that are due on your active income. And you're saying within real estate, but that could technically be within anything, right? Any active income?
Yeah, so there are different ways and to be able to offset W-2 income with real estate. You'd have to talk to, so I'm not giving legal advice or financial advice, but essentially you'd want to talk to your accountant to see how you can do that, because you have active income, you have passive income, you have active losses and passive losses. There's a way to mix and match. But for me, like I own a bunch of property, and they all cash flow, which is great. But when it becomes more painful when you have a repair versus if I had active income, the cash flow that I have that comes from these properties protects it and pays for those repairs and maintenance issues. But active income is really what you should be looking for, and then first, and then passive income second.
I got you. Yeah, I was thinking the other day about, it seems there's a common, I guess, path through real estate. Whether it's you're starting in fix and flip, or you're starting wholesaling or whatever, or even some people who just jump into buy and holds. But it seems like, I guess for a lot of people that I've talked to, it starts with like wholesaling. Start wholesaling, get some active income. And then, like you say, you realize the taxes. You're like, oh, snap. So then you start buying properties to try and offset that.
Yeah.
And then even like Pace talks about, right? His goal is to become the lender eventually.
Yeah.
So he's, and of course you don't have to start there. You like John here. I mean, he started fix and flip, well, more buy and hold, but with a little bit of fix and flip in there.
Yeah.
And then just jump straight into lending. So you don't have to start at wholesaling, but
yeah, you really don't. And that's something that I wish that I had focused or just realized ahead of time or sooner. I had tried to do wholesaling for 2.5 years, maybe 3 years, and I did not do well at all because I was basically throwing money at the problem and not honing in on my yeah, it's just not for me, right? I live in Northern Virginia. There's a lot of money here. All my friends did really well in school and have really, high paying jobs. So my network just kind of pushes me into lending, but that's not, everyone's situation, not everyone's case.
So you're in Northern Virginia and you say there's a lot of money there. And this, let's see, how do I want to word this? I've heard before, right, that who you surround yourself with, right? Kind of like that whole your 5 friends, if they're rich, you're going to be the 6th type thing. Would you say you're in Northern Virginia and that's boosting your income, or was your income up and so you moved to Northern Virginia? Does that make sense?
Well, no, I grew up here in Northern Virginia. I actually live in Orlando now, so I left the area.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I explained it in a confusing way. But I would say probably it was the people that I was surrounded by because, I mean, everybody went to school. Everyone, I mean, my history in school was, it took me like 7 years to get to graduate college. So I wasn't like a great student. And so I was already behind.
At least you graduated. Just say that. I said, at least you graduated.
At least you graduated. Cost me a lot of money, but I got there. And so I was seeing all my friends doing really well. And to me, it just seemed like, okay, well, if they can do that, then maybe I can. And so that kind of helped push me along to certain points. I think, surrounding yourself with that, but also they are, and there's nothing wrong with this at all. Like they're all W-2 employees. They're happy with where they're at. They have, they're very comfortable, and that's great. Like they never have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. And so, for me, it was not really leaving them, but spending more time with people within Sub-2 or just real estate in general.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ask because I feel like my expectations for my journey, obviously not panning out to what it's being, right? I say that. Sorry?
Well, explain that. Like, what does that mean?
So when I say that is, I've had mental expectations that I never really like worked through and really like set down as actual, like, okay, this is feasible. It's just like, and honestly, it's way too late. I'll explain. I just turned 30 in September.
Okay.
And it was like 2 months before 30. I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to be 30. It's like, why are we still in, rural Georgia? We need to be doing this stuff. I should have worked harder. Those types of negative thoughts, in a sense, that I didn't set up for it in the past, which is
Yeah.
why I'm where I'm at now. And I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But it got me thinking, like when you had talked about Northern Virginia and how there's a lot of money there and how they help spur you on. I'm like, would it benefit, and again, this might be selfish, guys, I'm sorry, but would it benefit me more to move out of this area that I'm in? Because it's not a rich area. It's not a, I mean, it's rural, which amazing to me. For some reason, and I guess because we have such a heavy reliance on cars, you would think that farmers would be like fit and, because they're having to move all this stuff, but like everybody here is really fat and it's really depressing. And even though I love the country, I'm not a big fan of being in the city. Just too many people. I like open space. But every time we go to the city, they're all like really thin, and it's because they don't drive everywhere; they walk everywhere.
Right.
It's just, I guess I need to find a happy balance, a more rich area but kind of rural.
Yeah, and that makes sense. But I mean, I would say, do you know Rex Shippey?
Yes, I actually interviewed him a while back.
Yeah, great guy, killing it, right? I don't know if he lives in an area. I mean, it's very hard to live in an area similar to Northern Virginia. So I think that there is some value in living, growing up here. But at the same time, like you and I are connecting and we're nowhere close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure, and this is not to say anything about me, but I'm sure that the more time, if we spend a lot of time together, you'd probably get pushed more into like raising capital just because that's what I'm doing, right? And so I think that yes, your environment has an impact on you, but you can also choose what your environment is. So I don't spend a lot of time, living in Orlando. I didn't know anybody. I still don't know many people, but all of my human interaction outside of my friends, outside of my family, is basically on Zoom. And so I would say if you want to make a change, then you figure out what it is that you want to do and just network with those types of people. I guess they call it networking with intention. And I wouldn't feel bad about where you're at right now. I mean, I didn't get started till 37. Okay. And that's one of the things that Elena Tang, I haven't seen her post much recently, but she's a big mindset coach, and she helped a lot because I was going through the same issues. Like, why didn't I not start earlier? My expectations of being in real estate were at one level, but I felt like I was at this other level, and it was stressful. I mean, she even said when we were talking that she could hear the frustration in my voice, and I didn't even realize it. And so I think, and Jamil always says this, like you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and that really helps because everyone's journey is different, everyone's path is different, and so I think just understanding what it is that you want to do, what is it you're good at, your strengths, will just catapult you to like another level. So what do you want to do?
Well, I mean, I started getting into real estate, obviously, like most people with Rich Dad Poor Dad and Bigger Pockets and stuff like that. And so I was like, oh, rentals, because that was all I knew, right?
Yeah.
Or all I had learned about. I've always had, and I actually have no idea why, but I've always had kind of an aversion to fix and flips.
Okay.
I have no clue why. Like, I've talked to plenty of people that are like, you don't need to know how to do construction. You don't need to know all this stuff. But there's just something about it. So maybe that's some other mental thing I need to work through. Might just not be my personality. I don't know. But so rentals is mainly what I wanted to do. Of course, as time went on, and I was a huge consumer of knowledge. I'm still that way. Like if I want to start something, I'm like, okay, I got to learn everything. I'm trying to fight against that a lot recently. But so I was a huge consumer, found Pace through Bigger Pockets. And then he came out with the Gator program, and I was like, oh, this is something I can start taking action on. Build business credit. I can do that.
Yeah.
So I did that. And I built up lines of credit, and I had money, but I didn't network with anybody or really tell people that I had money to lend. And so nothing really happened with it.
What kind of lens were you looking for?
Mainly EMD type stuff. There were a couple deals that came across that I had lent the money out on, but then they ended up falling through. Luckily, I got my money back and didn't lose anything. But that, starting out, you really want your first deal to kind of be a win in some sense.
Yeah.
To help spur you on. But regardless, as I'm retelling the story, I'm realizing I do have a lot more mental blocks than I initially thought. I like to think I know myself, but apparently not.
Well, Miss Roy really helped me about 6 months ago, 5 months ago. I was lost, right? Didn't know what I should be doing, and what he said was he gave me homework. He basically said, list out the top 5 things that your strengths. List out your top 5 strengths, and then list out the top 5 things you like to do. And then that'll give you kind of like that'll filter out a lot of the crap that you shouldn't be doing, and then then you explore a narrower hallway versus that gigantic room. And so that really helped for me. And then just networking, talking about stuff, it's helped too.
Yeah.
But if you have business lines of credit, like that's something that I've been wanting to do. I just haven't made the time to leverage it because I've just been spending all my time raising capital and finding borrowers. But if you want, like we can get you in on opportunities with us, and we can make some money like lending together. I don't do EMD or transactional lending. I just do PMLs. So we'd have to figure out a way to do that. But with me and my no longer having a W-2, it is hard for me to. It's more challenging for me to go out and get business credit until I have something that shows profitability, which I'm still working on through.
Right. I I got those lines of credit through credit. I went through the PCS business lines, business consulting, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so they're all in credit cards. And at the time, like I knew how to liquidate it and use it towards a deal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then the applications I was using, they got updated and I couldn't do that. Because actually the first time I did it, again, I was actually trying to lend on a deal. I was not doing this intentionally, but as soon as I did, I was like, hold on a second. You could easily commit credit card fraud this way. Because I was able to pull the money out into my account from the credit card.
Really?
Yeah, through this app. Wire it to the escrow company.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once that deal that I was working on, it fell through, I got my wire back or my money back in my account.
Yeah.
And then I just paid off the balance of my credit card with it.
Wow.
And that gave me, like, I was looking and I was like, oh, dude, you could get all the benefits of credit cards. Those, like, first time, pay this much with it.
Yeah.
Benefits. Just sit there, bounce it back. I was like, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. And now it's updated. You can't do that. So.
Yeah, I tried doing that with the plastic, but it would not never let me hit my own account.
Yeah.
But I used a credit card to put a down payment on a house, which I thought was the most amazing thing ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, let's definitely let's see if we can do something there. With that, I'd love to. I mean, I tossed it to the side because I was like, I don't understand it, and I didn't. I don't know what about it, or if it's just the way I was raised or the culture I'm in or whatever. But I've always been like, well, if I don't understand it, I don't want to look bad by asking for help, right? I don't want to that type of thing. So I'm slowly working through that. Okay,
Yeah.
I can see your disappointment, John.
Well, no, I was just gonna say that I've asked some of the dumbest questions in the sub 2 group, so don't feel bad about asking questions.
So yeah, but no, I would love to connect with you maybe after this podcast or whatever, and see what we can do.
Yeah, man. I'll walk you through the process. You can go do lending on your own too if you want. I can tell you how to do it.
Yeah, I feel like I'll get there eventually. I tried starting there.
Mhm.
My main thing is now I'm just trying to get my first deal. Right? I'm still trying to get that proof of concept.
Mhm.
Not so much for me. Like I believe in the
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah.
More so for my wife.
Right.
You know?
Understandable.
So
what are you looking for?
well, so I work as a firefighter, and me and another firefighter buddy, we've partnered up and starting to look to buy creative deals from wholesalers,
What market?
mainly in Georgia.
Okay.
We're also open to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. I have 2 houses in Chattanooga. I might be selling all of my single family homes. I'm not sure yet, but
oh, okay.
I can offer terms, seller financing, if you want, or a hybrid essentially. All
Okay.
cash flow, all stabilized. I can send you the numbers. Probably looking at doing it next. If we're going to do it, probably beginning of next year.
Okay.
But I do have a list of properties in Birmingham. I don't own them, but all Burr method through a contractor that's who pre-inspects all the houses. I don't know if that's something that you want to do, but I do have a list of properties in Birmingham that we could probably partner on.
Okay. Yeah, so we're actually looking or working through potentially buying one in Birmingham now,
Okay.
from another sub 2 student.
Nice. Okay.
And so I'm trying to get I'm bringing in a private money partner on that one. And so we've got to do a couple more things because we went and walked it, and there was some damage that the seller didn't know about. So trying to work through some of that. But
You walked it?
yeah, I went and walked it. It was possibly our first deal. I was like, heck yeah, let me go
All
look
right,
at it.
that's cool.
So it took a whole day, drove out there just for like 30 minutes walking around. And then it was 4 hours there, 4 hours back.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay. Cool.
but yeah,
Okay.
forgot where I was going with this, I'll be honest.
I was looking for your first deal, proof of
Oh
concept
yeah.
of your life, and that's what you're looking at. Buying creative deals.
Yeah. So
Birmingham.
we've heard, especially in Birmingham, apparently like co-living and maybe lease options are like really good out there.
Okay.
So we were thinking of doing lease option for this one that we're looking at, but then we ran the numbers with co-living, and it actually looks like it's going to be a little better. So probably
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be good. I mean, co-living you have really good returns on those if you do it properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the ideal is, buying deals from wholesalers, who obviously can come up with terms or pitch sub 2,
Yeah.
and then utilizing private money lenders like yourself to fund those deals. So that's kind of the ideal situation for us right now.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
well, sweet man, I feel like I've rambled on a lot. Is there anything else you want to chat about before we move on to the last part of our show?
Yeah. So I would say if you are getting started in real estate, don't just go unless you really enjoy your job. If your goal is to get out of your job, don't just go out and buy a bunch of rental properties thinking you're going to live off of landlord income. Go figure out a way to generate active income, whether that's through short-term rentals if you're really into hospitality, or fix and flip if you like those types of projects, or wholesaling if you like talking to people, or lending if you have money but don't necessarily have the time to do all this. Just find some active income and use rental properties as a way to offset your taxes.
I like that. I feel like you really broke that down. You definitely gave me some clarity there. So
I'm good. I'm glad. Yeah.
Well, sweet, man. So last part of our show, just a few questions. They're pretty basic.
Okay.
First, what made you decide to be on the podcast today?
Well, you have a podcast, and I like to support people that are doing it because I have a podcast as well, and would like to have you come on if you're interested. But yeah, I mean, it's not easy. It's challenging to record yourself. I never thought that I would ever put my face on the internet the way that I have, and so I just wanted to help support.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's definitely, to me, it's easier being the host. Occasionally you'll get guests that just talk. And so it's like, it's great. I only have to ask you like 2 or 3 things and you take up the rest of the time. Like, I love it. And then you'll get some that it's like pulling teeth just to get an answer out of them. And I have no idea which one I'll be, just so you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not been on this podcast, so
all right.
That were not mine.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so John, somebody decides, they love your sweatshirt, they think your hair's great, whatever. They think you shine with that white background, something, and they want to work with you. What value can you bring to them, if you could summarize it briefly?
Sure. So there are 2 ways. If you are a fix and flipper who is doing at least one project, acquiring at least one project a month, or you've done 5 in the last year, and you're looking to scale, I can come in, I can bring funding. I have soft commits of $3 million right now. I'm looking to add another $1 million to that by the end of November. And really, the goal here is to bring this money in and help fix and flippers or BRRRR investors scale. And then on the other side, if you are new to the community or just new to real estate in general and are kind of lost, I'm more than happy to hop on a call and just do like a quick 30-minute strategy call with you, just to understand your situation and help guide you just based on my experience. I don't know everything, but just based on my experience, I can kind of point you in the right direction and eliminate some of the things that you should not be doing.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like, again, like, wasn't my intention to, learn a little bit. I mean, that's not true. The whole point of the podcast is so I can learn. Never mind.
No, it's cool. I understand what you're saying.
I appreciate it. Okay, so on the flip side of that, so you've given what value you can provide to someone who wants to do a deal with you. What is something you would need or you need from someone who wants to work with you?
Really, on the borrower side, like a complete borrower's package, history, right? I just want to see what you've been doing and how well you've been doing it. Even if you don't have a strong track record, or not, even if you aren't doing a ton of projects right now, reach out to me. Let's build that relationship. Let's get to know each other first. And then when you're ready to hit that part where we're ready to scale together, it just makes life a lot easier. So don't be afraid to reach out if you're just getting started in fix and flipping. And on the lending side, same thing. Even if you don't want to work with us, you want to get those higher returns and kind of do it on your own, I'm more than happy to talk about the lessons I've learned and just share experiences so that you're out there making money in your first deal and not talking about how you lost $30,000.
Yeah. Awesome. And then you kind of gave some just before this, but what's some advice you would give to someone newer into the game?
Figure out what you're good at, and as well as what you enjoy doing, because it took me 2.5, 3 years to figure out what I was good at and what I should be doing, what I enjoy doing. And after getting to that point, I feel like my business has just grown like crazy. Like in August, we funded 1 deal. Last month, we funded 4. This month, I think we funded like 12. And so because of that, because I figured out what I should be doing, what my strengths were, and what resources I had around me, it has made this experience a lot more enjoyable versus trying to cold call and do the things that I shouldn't be doing. So figure out what your strengths are and what you enjoy doing.
Gotcha. Awesome. And then lastly, John, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Say someone wants to be a borrower or they want help lending. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
So I know my email address is at the bottom, but please don't do that. Reach out to me on Facebook Messenger or Instagram. Both of them, I think, are Jon Chan REI. So facebook.com/Jon Chan REI, as well as Instagram.com/Jon Chan REI. So those are the 2 best ways.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, John, that's it, man. That's all I got.
Thank you so much for having me on and giving me this opportunity. It was really nice meeting you, and I'm hoping that we can work together sometime soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, again, thank you. I wasn't expecting to have a small therapy session, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, I enjoy these types of things. So I thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome, brother. Well, guys, that's our show. Leave in the comments below. Tell us how great you thought John's hair was. If you have recommendations, maybe spice up his background a little bit. Now, remember, he's not at home.
Okay?
Yeah. So cut him some slack. But regardless, guys, if you like this video, like and subscribe. Come back next week. We drop every Monday. So yeah, until next week, guys, peace be with you. Be safe. Love you guys. Have a wonderful week.
Appreciate it.